Today we're going to look at the knight. We're going to see how the knight moves and how we can better play the knight in our games and get the best use out of it. Now the knight moves, he moves basically in an L. It's either a 1-2 or a 2-1. And we'll take a look at, let's say in this example, let's look at all the squares that the knight can move to. For this square, it depends on how you look at it. He can move 1, 2, and then 1 over, or he can move 1 and then 2 over. Basically, he's going to move 1 and then 2, or 2 and then 1. Doesn't matter how you look at it. Keep in mind that the knight is the only piece in chess that can hop over pieces. So even if we have pawns everywhere, let's take a look at an example where we have pawns completely surrounding the knight. He can still move. He can still move to C2, he can still move to B3, he can hop over pieces, and he's the only piece that can do that, which is a huge benefit to having the knight. And that's why the knight, even though he can't move as much as the bishop, is still worth 3 points in a chess game, because of his ability to move over pieces. Now, as we saw before, all the different squares that a knight can move if he's in the middle. Now let's take a look at if the knight is on, let's put him on A4. Now let's look at all the different moves he can move. As you can see, as he gets on the rim, there's a limited number of squares he can move to. We've cut his moves down significantly. He can now move only 4 squares. We have B6, we have C5, C3, B2. Now let's put him in the corner here, and we'll see that we even minimize that even more. So let's say a knight in A1. Now he only has 2 moves. He can move to B3 or he can move to C2. So, hopefully you can tell a knight in the middle is much, much better than a knight on the side. So a lot of times, especially when you develop your knights early on, you want to make sure you're going towards the center. And in the beginning of the game, you want to make a move like F3. You don't want to make a move like H3. This isn't very good. You don't want to put your knight on the edge if you don't have to. You want to put him in the center where he has more spaces to attack. And you also want to have center control. It's always an important theme in chess. You want to have center control. Now, knights are especially good in closed games. And by closed games, I mean that there's a lot of pawn structure. So we're going to take a look at an example of, if you've seen the bishop video, you may have seen where if you have bishops and there's a lot of pawns, it's really not good. But if you have knights, it is very good. Let's go ahead and take a look at an example here. As you can see, we're even in material. We have the same number of pawns and the same number of minor pieces. But white is a lot better here. Remember, we said that if bishops are blocked in by their own pawns, they can't really move. And even though a bishop is worth 3 points and a knight is worth 3 points, the knight here is much better. We can position our knight to C3, and then we can bring our knight to D5, and this is a very active square for us. We can start hopping over pieces, and we're not restricted. Black, on the other hand, has a bishop, which is the same material as our knight, but as you can tell, he's blocked in by his own pawns. So bishops work really well in open games where there's not a lot of pawns, and knights work really well in closed games where pawns are blocking the structure. So in this situation, you would rather have knights. And this is one of the benefits of having a knight in a game, is if it's a closed structure like this, where even a queen may not be able to penetrate this, but a knight, since he can hop over pieces, he can. So knights are definitely very good in the right situation. So this is how the knight moves. This is how you should look for in a game if a knight is good or not. Because again, if it's an open game, it's not going to be as valuable as a bishop, but you do want to have center control with your knight at all times, and you would like to have it in a closed game. So hopefully this helped. Use it in your own chess game. Thanks for watching.